Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like almost Halloween, Diane. It's so tubular.
For real.
Is that what
Really.
we would say in the 80s? So as you can see, happy Halloween, almost Halloween, everybody. It's Aortic Hope's Halloween week in review version. If I can see through my glasses, I'll try to get through this today. What you don't see is my tutu and my leg warmers. I'm totally glammed up for 80s because, it's the only costume I had. And we just dressed up like this, Diane and I and Terry, for an event this past summer. So, it was pretty handy. And honestly, I can't even remember half the stuff that I used to say in the 80s, but it was so annoying, right? Like, oh my God, like,
So fun.
it's
So
too,
fun.
I don't remember anything. I remember looks, but I don't remember things we said. What I remember is how in the heck we didn't get high from those Halloween costumes made out of that plastic material with just a little hole in the mouth. I was the bionic woman. I did not look like her at all, but just a little hole. And just in the wintertime, you would get wet behind the nostrils and just try to breathe through the hole with the plastic,
Hmm.
with the elastic behind your head. Those are the
Yes.
days. I think my favorite costume one year, my father made me a Rubik's Cube. I was a Rubik's Cube. I wore a big box with all the multicolored different squares, and I roller skated from house to house. What is that? I don't even
How
know.
neat.
It was cool. Yeah, it was a good costume. I mean, he's very crafty, very handy. You know,
L- Let
that
me
was
tell you, guess who I was that I actually took second place, and that was
who
2 years ago. Michael Jackson.
I know. I wish I had a. Please
You
post a
know,
picture of
I
that on
took
Facebook.
second place.
Yes, you need to post a
I
picture of that on
really
Facebook
did.
because that is amazing. You looked just like Michael, just like him.
And
Yes.
Josh, let me tell you, I done that the first my senior year in high school, and I won overall the whole talent show. And I done it to Billie Jean, moonwalk across the stage with my hat, crotch scratching, everything. So good.
But that wasn't two
So
years
fun.
ago. You just implied that you dressed up like him 2 years ago and in high
I
school.
did.
Two
No,
years
two
ago.
years ago, I went to a bar. But in high school,
Oh,
I
but
that's the
okay.
very first time I done it. Yes.
I was
It
going to
was
say, girl, I know that high school wasn't 2 years ago. All right.
no, it made headlines in the papers.
I know. I saw
It
that. It
was
was
so funny.
amazing. All right, this is Week in Review, and I'm going to ask all of you to please click that like button, click the subscribe button. There's a little bell. If you click that, you'll be notified every time we go live, and we go live for so many different things. This is our Week in Review, which we go over some of the posts that we put up on our social media pages, and we give you an opportunity to kind of talk with us and banter and tell us your thoughts and interact and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to pick a winner today from whomever interacts with us to win a copy of Aortic Dissection, the Patient Guide. So getting you that heads up, Joshua, we're going to do that today.
Love that.
Uh,
Molly says hi.
Hi, Molly. Look,
Molly.
I feel like I should do flash dance.
I know she's
Or
going to be at bingo tonight, and I know she's going to wear her famous cow costume. And it's such a shame she's not right on right now.
I
Oh,
know you coming to bingo tonight, Diane. You need to dress up like Michael Jackson.
it'd be fun.
They would be.
I've got to find it. It's up in the cabin loft.
Find
I have to
anything.
check it out. All
Just
right.
come to bingo. All
That
right.
or Amy Winehouse.
That would be interesting to see too. All right. Let's start. Medical Monday. All right. So, one of the most common questions that we tend to hear from community members, I know you read these too, Diane, is why did I
I
have an
do.
aortic dissection? And if you have a copy of Aortic Dissection, the Patient Guide, if you have a copy of this or you've downloaded it, if you go to page 21, this is where we talk about this. Like, what are all the reasons why you could have had it? Now, an aortic dissection, as we know, is very rare. It's a rare condition, but according to the National Library of Medicine, thoracic aortic dissection, or is often referred to as TAD, is estimated to occur at a rate of 3 to 4 cases per 100,000 persons per year, and it's associated with a high mortality rate. reported rates are probably underestimated, and the true incidence that really happens because of TAD, it's because it's difficult to diagnose. And I think since COVID, personally, I'm going to interject this. I think it's also being underestimated because I don't think a lot of people are going to hospitals because they're just scared that they're going to get COVID. And that's really the least of your concerns if you're having an aortic dissection. Okay. Just dismiss all that. We still have people that have COVID separate from those that don't in most of the ERs. But an aortic dissection has several underlying causes, not all of which are fully understood. However, what they have in common is the feature that the aortic wall has become weak and it's unable to withstand the pressure of your blood or the movement of the aorta created by the heart beating and your body moving. There are various risk factors for an aortic dissection, including general health risk factors and genetic risk factors. Not all or not direct, no, start the sentence over. Yeah, no direct relationship exists, which covers every case, thus the term risk factor. The more risk factors that somebody has, or the more extreme a factor might be, the more likely they are to actually have a dissection. But if you'd like to learn more about all of the risk factors, including high blood pressure, genetic risk factors, prior strokes, diabetes, all of these risk factors, please read pages 22 through 25. You can also download a copy of the book by clicking on this link, clicking in many different places on our website. So that is, I think it's a pretty common question we hear, which is like, why did this even happen to me? But I don't have anybody in my family that this has happened to. They say that usually early on in recovery. And the more they're with the communities, the more they learn, the more they realize, well, wait a minute, maybe something did happen. Do you find that, Diane?
I do. I do. And coming back, my brother had a lot of heart problem and his first open heart surgery since he was 18 years old. And he passed away at 42. And it was kind of ironic because when I dissected and actually was misdiagnosed, was sent home from a hospital saying I was having a panic attack, sent home with Xanaxes. And I it was 2 days, I think, before my 42nd birthday.
Mm.
And it was, it was so weird. In my mind, it was so scary. I did not know what it was. And that is the biggest factor. The more you know about aortic dissection, how it affects others, and hearing other people's story, you can relate to them or find out, hey, you know pretty much what to expect. It is very scary for a first timer or for someone to when it first happens, it's so scary not knowing what's happening, what's the next thing, what is it, how did I get this. It's you're in your own hell at the time when it happens. But the more you know, the more you learn, get educated, and you connect. The biggest thing for me is when I found you, and you my best turd, girl. But anyhow, and I mean, it helped me relate and gave me a feeling of belonging. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can live. Here's this person that had this, even though not everyone's 100% alike, but you can relate and it's a place to belong and you have a sense of control of your life
Mhm.
again.
Well, and it's not only aortic dissections, although this guide was really geared towards breaking down the nitty gritty about dissections, but back it up, right? Because you find out you have an aneurysm and everybody goes haywire crazy because they read what can happen. And what can happen
Mhm.
is very scary, although it doesn't have to happen. And I know that the majority of cases it doesn't, but we have seen that even with enough planning and monitoring, it can still happen regardless. It's just very rare. Statistically, it doesn't happen often, but it definitely does happen. And we know people who that's happened to. So, yeah, ask the question, why did it happen? It's an important question to ask because the answers will hopefully lead you to having your family members looked at, have a baseline taken, They will probably be monitored all of their life, although it might be every 5 years. Who knows? We hope, right? That would be the best case scenario. So education, knowledge, it's all power. And I appreciate that you were so happy when you found us, even though we came along after your days. So we found you first. All right. Topic Tuesday. This week is by Adam, our third year medical student. And as he says, hello, beautiful people. I just saw Funny Girl, so I've got a little bit of that Brooklyn thing going on. It's stuck with me. It's phenomenal musical, digressing, but it was amazing. Anyway, all right, let's talk about something that we've touched upon already before for Topic Tuesday, and that is aortic valve disease. One of the things that kind of makes us different from other organizations is we don't just focus on thoracic aortic disease or strictly abdominal aortic disease or just aortic valve disease. We kind of got the whole thing. We start at the valve and we focus on everything all the way down. So for this particular Tuesday, let's talk about aortic valve disease. There's a really good diagram in heart valve surgery that demonstrates the beautiful Mercedes-Benz structure of the valve, which you see right here, okay? And the aortic valve is the last valve that blood will flow through before leaving the heart and going to the rest of the entire body. So it's underneath the highest degree of pressure. And you got to have 3 leaflets or cusps. This is a normal looking valve right here, and this is what it looks like when it's closed. And most of the diseases of the aortic valve happen because it's either too tight or too loose and floppy. And when this happens, the heart then needs to work extra hard to kind of do the valve's job because it'll start to weaken over time if you don't treat it. So this is what it looks like when it's closed, that Mercedes-Benz kind of symbol. This is what it looks like when it's opened. All right. Now, aortic stenosis, we've talked about this before. It can occur for any reason at any age. But when you have stenosis, it means typically that calcium or lipids or fats can develop around the leaflets of the valve. I am just like, I guess I need some candy because I'm looking at that candy for a while, and without it, I'm like having a stuttering issue right now. All right, so calcium or lipids can develop around the leaflets of the valve, and they can actually harden over time. That's stenosis, the hardening of that valve. And you can have stenosis of a vessel too, that you'll have these deposits and then they starts to harden. So as a result of having stenosis, the opening of the from the aorta to the rest of the body becomes a little too tight, causes the hard muscles to need to have to pump harder to do its job. And if you think about blood flowing through a hose, as you see here, okay, if you think about blood flowing through a hose, imagine what happens when you put your thumb over the nozzle, like depicted here, right? The pressure is greater and the flow is less smooth. I love garden hose analogies when it comes to aortic disease. There's so many different types of analogies, but this is a good one. So if you make it harder, like stenosis, by putting your thumb over a fully open valve that's now leading through the garden hose, you're going to make that spray less, but harder and less smooth. Okay, so that's kind of what happens with stenosis. Let's look at this puppy. See, adorable. All right, so common symptoms of aortic stenosis would be shortness of breath, tiredness, but shortness of breath is just not only for stenosis, so keep that in mind. But you could have shortness of breath, you could be fatigued, especially when walking or exercising. And some people with severe stenosis experience syncope or dizziness, could be a loss of consciousness, could be that you might pass out. And that's if blood is unable to travel effectively out of the aorta and feed the brain. All right, now stenosis usually occurs in older people, not sure how they're defining older. But one risk factor for aortic stenosis in younger patients, which would be 40 to 60, there you go. Okay, so I'm considered young. Hallelujah. It's good to be considered young. Would be a variant of the aortic valve called bicuspid valve. That's actually considered a congenital heart defect. A bicuspid valve is not contagious. It's not something that happens later in life. You are actually born with it. You just don't know that you have it till later in life, typically between 40 and 60, because you end up going for some other types of tests and it just shows you have this bicuspid valve, which means instead of having 3 leaflets, you end up having 2. Okay, so you end up having 2 cusps. All right, so in bicuspid valves, And they're showing some stenosis right here. In bicuspid valves, there's only 2 leaflets, and that can cause them to harden earlier in life from calcium deposits, okay? There's a lot of research to suggest that bicuspid aortic valves could run in family. I know that there's research studies that have been going on regarding this as well. And what we're hearing is that it is going to be widely accepted that bicuspid valves are genetically involved. So be sure to get tested if somebody in your family has had a history of bicuspid valve. Just get an echo or scan, to see what kind of valve that you have. Well-documented histories of you and your family are always helpful when it comes to managing any kind of condition regarding the aorta with your healthcare team. Now let's talk about the other thing that happens with valves, and that's regurgitation. So this is a bicuspid valve. See, it's only got 2 sides to it. Didn't get the other little slice right in here. And this would be a tricuspid valve. But blood that flows through your heart should always be forward. It goes in one direction. Once the blood flows from one chamber or area to the next, it should never go backwards. Our valves actually seal tightly to help prevent backwards flow. Here we go. You find backwards flow sometimes when your pipes get stopped up, right? Sometimes water, instead of draining out of a sink or a toilet, starts bubbling up. That's a problem. That's regurgitating. Think of your tummy, okay? When some of us experience GERD, it's gastric esophageal reflux. It is regurgitating, it's coming back up, and it should be going back down. So aortic regurgitation refers to a floppy or leaky aortic valve. And when this happens, there's a little bit of blood that may flow back to the heart instead of out to the rest of the body through the aorta. And individuals with this condition may notice a lot of similar conditions to that of stenosis. So you could be short of breath, you could have weakness when you exercise, which is why I was mentioning, don't just assume if you have shortness of breath, you have stenosis or deposits or hardening. You could have regurgitation as well, or leaking. Some risk factors for aortic regurgitation include old age. All right, well, I have regurgitation and I was considered in the young age bracket. So we'll just also say it could happen to younger people too, right? Okay. If you have a connective tissue disorder like Marfan syndrome, or if you have a bicuspid valve, you are at risk to have regurgitation. So some things to just think about and to understand and to learn. And those are the most common issues you find with aortic valve disease. Now, bicuspid is one, much more common. Of course, you want to have tricuspid, but you also could have unicusp, and that's one. That's just like one cusp. This just seems so odd to me. Or you could have 4. And I've asked radiologists before, like, how freaky is it when you find somebody with 1 or 4? And they always say it is so freaky, like you call your colleagues and you have to look at this. Bicuspids are common. Anything less or greater than a tricuspid, they all find it fascinating. So fascinating on us, the guinea pigs. But that is information about aortic valve disease. And we're going to learn a little bit more about treatment and all those different ways of treating bicuspids and surgeries, endovascular, open heart, the whole 9 yards on October 31st. So tomorrow we'll be discussing those next week. It's our topic Tuesday. Got any thoughts there, Diane?
No, it just took me back to, I believe about a year and a half when I had my valve replaced. They put in the bovine valve.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with the things that I was experiencing myself was the shortness of breath, the dizziness, not totally passing out, but dizziness, almost blackout,
Mm-hmm.
but not totally out, like hot flashes, but that's an ongoing thing at my age. But that's something that I experienced a lot. So yeah, I got that fixed and moving on.
All right. And there we are, moving on. Anybody have any
Here we
comments,
are.
thoughts, questions? Anybody else join us but Molly yet?
Nope, not yet. Chilling out.
Because they're all preparing for Halloween.
I
That's what
hope
it is.
they're getting ready for Halloween bingo.
That's right. That's the biggest thing is Halloween bingo tonight. And it's free and it's 10 games and you can win awesome prizes. We'll talk about that. All right. Let's moving on to Therapeutic Thursday. All right, we're creeping closer to daylight savings. That's happening this upcoming weekend. I think it happens on the 5th, going into the 5th Sunday morning. Now, I know when I was a kid, I loved it. I loved being out in a nightclub and it's 1:30 in the morning, and then you realize, oh, it's daylight savings. It's actually only going to be 12:30 in the morning. Any minute they're going to be like, you get an extra hour, and you did, and I loved it. It was so great. And springing forward, they let us stay, but still, now I'm older and I don't know. This just represents to me a time where it's just dark. It's just dark all the time. It seems like dark in the
Mhm.
morning, it's dark at night. I don't know. I like when we spring forward. I like having a lot more daytime. But that leads
Right.
us to that there's a lot of people that get affected from this from a mood perspective, and that's called seasonal affective disorder. Interesting that
Hmm.
it kind of like makes SAD as the acronym. But seasonal disorder, otherwise known as seasonal affective disorder, or winter
Okay.
depression, they actually call it, is a type of mood disorder that occurs at a time of the year, usually in winter. It's not considered like a separate disorder, but rather a subtype of major depression or bipolar disorder, which I did not know until I read this article. I think it probably affects a lot of people in different varying degrees, and that does not mean that you have bipolar or severe major depressive disorder. I think you're just affected by the change, and I think a lot of people experience problems falling asleep, staying asleep, just like with jet lag. I don't think it has to be
Hmm.
something that's major, but I do know people. When I was younger, I suffered from this tremendously and had really bad insomnia, and my parents bought me a light, special desk lamp. So I would do my homework and it gave me that extra charge, feeling like I had that extra hour of sunlight type of thing. But it really can affect anybody. It's common in people who live farther away from the equator, where winter days are shorter and darker. And some of the symptoms, in case you're wondering, would be just a low mood. Your mood just gets a little more blue, I guess, right? Uh, Losing interest in things, some fatigue. Why does everything include fatigue? Have you ever notice that? Everything includes a degree of fatigue. It also can include irritability, difficulty concentrating, maybe a change in your appetite, definitely in your sleep patterns,
Hmm.
and it could ultimately lead to some thoughts of suicide. So this is not something that's necessarily you take with a grain of salt. Seasonal disorder can actually be treated, as I mentioned, with light therapy. It can be treated with medication, psychotherapy, maybe a combination of all of the above. And light therapy actually involves exposure to a bright artificial light. So, what we mean is anything that's not the sun. And you get that exposure for a certain amount of time in a day. And they like to do it typically in the morning because then it like adds that extra hour of sunlight feel to your day. It actually helps better regulate the body's circadian rhythm and helps you boost the production of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that affects your mood. Medications could be antidepressant, a mood stabilizer, depending on the type and the severity of this disorder. But psychotherapy can actually help people cope with the negative thoughts that might come along with this, the feelings that you're having, and help you learn strategies to help um, manage your stress and to help improve your overall well being. So, seasonal
Hmm.
disorder, not a sign of weakness, it's not a sign of laziness. It's real, it's a serious condition. It can affect anybody. And I think it explains why I've been falling asleep and taking really long naps every day as we've gotten closer to this week. Now that I'm reading this, I'm starting to think about this. I mean, my naps are like, they're not like quick 20 minutes right now. They're like full blown. Like I get home and I'm like, I have to be sleeping right now for about like 2.5 hours. It's been really, really rough. But if you think you might be suffering from seasonal affective disorder, just talk to your physician, talk to a therapist, let them know. There are options available to help you. And again, as we always say, you should never have to suffer from anything like that. So just get it checked out. Now, you living in Alabama, roll tide. I don't know if you get affected by anything
Okay.
like that, but has the change of time ever really affected you?
Oh yes, I have it right now.
Okay.
At the time, it have not changed. But let me tell you, I do have trouble like uh getting up in the morning. I used to be able before I became so sick, but with having the connective tissue along with everything else, it's
Hmm.
harder for me to get up. I used to be one to get up like 4:35 in the morning, jump in the shower. I'll have my face on, ready to go, and cook breakfast for all the children of the corn, and I mean everything be done. But now it's just so hard, Carrie. I'm
It's
so
hard.
tired. But let me tell you, I must say, if I get up now and I just go for a ride and the sun and listen to upbeat music and
Mm-hmm.
psych myself out, that's
Mm-hmm.
what's gotta go. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
Diane. But it does work. I do know what you mean about the sunlight, because on a gloomy day, how your sometimes not your attitude or your feeling change, or even
Mm-hmm.
wintertime. Wintertime people tend to just lay around opposed to
Right.
a bright sunny day. But sometimes a change of routine helps, a hobby that seems
Mm-hmm.
to help. But times like that, when it happens to me, sometimes I'll get up and I'll go to the lake where I took you at, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go for a walk right there, and I could come and back and deal with stuff. But it is real, and I rather do something like that than be put more on medication, being that it seems like I got enough to deal with. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather take that ride, go out and socialize,
Yeah.
and try something else, do a little bit of yoga or something to
Mm-hmm.
change the pace.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yes. Yep.
All right. That's Therapeutic Thursday. With a click of the button, we're into our Feel Good Friday. Another one of our first Friday fundraisers, although this was not the first one of the month, it just was a Friday fundraiser. And, all weekend we were offering $5 off that minimum requested donation for one of our seatbelts. And that special has ended, but I need to tell everybody about these because I think, with the holidays coming up, these might make a really great gift. Plus, we're going to have a whole new round of
Mhm.
college grads coming out in December. And this is another great thing to put in their cars to get them started going on their life, on their journeys and their jobs, people turning 16, getting their licenses. It's just another element of security and safety when you have somebody with any kind of chronic illness. But the belt covers are really bright. We've given you an option of yellow, black, or red, and even the red I say bright because of all the lettering that's on it. And you get your
Mhm.
choice of many different sayings that all go on here. We've got the medic alert uh, accepted icon at the top. These are one of those things that if you were in an accident, a first responder will recognize this and they already know that on the inside there's an area for you to put emergency information on a card. So you can put your emergency contact information. You can put your medications that you're allergic to, your current conditions, your physician's name, all kinds of information can go in there. They Velcro right around your seatbelt and they're super comfortable against your skin. Easy to wash off with just soap and water and a sponge. But they're all different types of sayings. So right now we offer them in abdominal aneurysm, thoracic aortic aneurysm, aortic dissection survivor, Marfan syndrome, Loeys-Dietz syndrome, vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or general medical alert. So if you're somebody that happens to be watching this that does not have any of the aortic specific issues, but let's say you have a seizure disorder, you might want to have one of these belts, right? If you have a family member that is on the highly autistic and is nonverbal, you're definitely going to want to have one of these belts. So really multiple different types of medical conditions. Diabetes would be another one in case you're having a lull and we can't, a lot of people when they're in a low, they can't really talk. They become
Mhm.
disoriented. That's a great cover to have and just have it say medical alert, general medical alert. So we are asking that they are $15 minimum donation. That does cover all of your shipping. And then anything international, we are asking for $20 to cover that shipping as well.
Mhm.
Seatbelts,
Um,
seatbelt covers.
Let me give everybody a heads up as well. For those of you that are walkers and like to walk or run, it is great to put around your, if you have a fanny pack or something. If you can use it to put on your leash whenever you walk your sweet little poochie pooch. Uh, you could take it. It's real helpful when you go to the gym. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just necessarily for your car, but it's a great tool to use for other things that you do, and it's available. And you never know.
You
You
are
never
so
know.
smart. I mean, you can put them on a backpack. You're right. Anything where
That's
there's a
right.
strap,
Your
stick it
backpack.
on. You're so
Exactly.
smart. You're smart,
Thank
Diane. You're
you.
Smarticus.
Thank
All right,
you.
let's move on to Survivor Series Saturday. It's very simple. We want you to be the shining light in someone else's story of survival. And then, the easiest way you can do this is just share your story. And you can share your
Mhm.
story with the community in so many different ways. And I'm talking about from a caregiver's perspective, from the patient's perspective. If you lost a loved one, we want to hear your perspective on how that happened. And we can accept your story in written form as a pre-recorded video, and you can go live like we are today and then take questions from the community. The goal here is to hear about what were you feeling? What was your diagnosis? Were you misdiagnosed? What's the treatment? What's that been looking like? And kind of like where you are now. So telling other people your story validates a lot of things that they've been through. I can't tell you how many times we've heard people say, "Oh my gosh, so and so just shared their story and they finally said what I've been thinking all along. I just didn't know how to put it into words." Or they learned something from your story and then they want to take it back to their own physicians and ask questions. Um, and that's just a great way to generate conversation between people and their own personal physician. So don't discount the impact of telling your story. Don't discount it on how it's going to impact you. It's extremely therapeutic. I promise you. You might get emotional, you might cry, and that's great for ratings. It really is. And I don't mean to say it like that, but it's great in that people feel that human element. They can connect with you. They've been crying too. It's a win-win when people can connect with other people on a genuine human level. So if you're interested, just complete the link, complete the form. Someone will be in touch with you, and we will talk about featuring you in one of our future survivor stories. And we're actually booking right now for November. So fill out the form.
I
It's
have
our survivor
one thing to
series.
add there. In
What
the
was that?
I have one thing to add
Mm-hmm.
in our support groups. We have people that they don't recall any part of anything that happened to them. They were basically blacked out during the whole thing, and then they
Mm-hmm.
hear
Wow.
everybody else's story, and they're like, "I wonder which one of these was me."
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times, and that's super interesting to hear because it's like, well, I didn't feel
Mm.
any pain. I don't remember going to the ER. It's complete
Mm-hmm.
blank. Just woke up
So scary.
with
I would hate
tubes.
that.
Yeah.
I hate sometimes that I can't
Mm.
remember certain aspects of it. I want so badly. And then I think, why do I need to know so badly? But that's where a caregiver comes in, because if a caregiver was present, they can give their perspective. I think the most frustrating is if nobody was present. What were people feeling and seeing? I had a conversation with my transport nurse, and her recollection of what happened is very different than mine. But which, I don't know, maybe her version is skewed because she was so scared. Maybe my vision skewed because I was already having cognitive changes from a wacky blood flow at that moment. Who knows? But it is fun to hear the different details of the
Mhm.
story, of things that I did and phone calls I made and sentences and stuff. Like, it's just weird. So yeah, that's got to be really really challenging when you remember very little and you listen to everybody else. So, but we still want to hear from you. So that's our Survivor Series Saturday. All right. Help us promote Aortic Hope. You guys know, when you are in the waiting room of your doctor's office, how many of us eventually get bored just sitting there staring at the models, staring at the posters? You're just waiting. You've already been weighed. Now you're deliberating how much weight you feel like you need to lose and lay off cookies and feel bad about yourself because you've been weighed. And then oh, that's just me. All right. So, yeah, but these are the conversations you have in your head, right? So, wouldn't it be great to read information about Aortic Hope? Our patient awareness posters is the way to do that. You can help us by ordering a set of 10 for yourself to take to your doctor's office or get your doctor to do it. And they are basically going to be displayed in the exam rooms. So this allows a patient to have an opportunity to learn about aortic hope, scan a QR code right away. This is the older graphic. Pardon that, because the newer graphic has a picture of the aortic dissection, the patient guide, with a QR code to order that and download it right there on their phone as they're waiting for the physician, or scan the QR codes and join a caregiver or generalized support group meeting right while they're sitting there waiting in the exam room. what, we were doing the rack cards, and we still are offering rack cards for um, the waiting rooms. But what happened is during COVID, a lot of physicians took all reading materials out because they didn't want people touching things. So they took them all out. This was the answer to that. We now are having doctors put them in the exam rooms, giving you an opportunity to scan with your phone and check out some information from us right there. And all you need to do is click the link that's in here, and you can order a set of 10. So, patient awareness points of potions. Blah, 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 blah.
Wow, you went to potions.
Halloween. All right. Let's get serious. Patient awareness posters. Like, for real, like patient awareness posters. What is that accent? What is that? All right. Events tomorrow night, 31st. No, tonight,
That
the
click didn't
30th.
take. That click
Bingo.
didn't take.
I didn't click it because it's just our home button.
Oh,
I don't have the events up because I'm behind schedule. I've not done my job.
You can't see.
Can't see me. It is
Oh.
tonight. Bingo. Still plenty of time for you to sign up. Look, it's underneath of our events page. I will show you to make you all feel better. Click the events page, and eventually it comes up. Bingo. Click bingo. Register. It's free. You get 1 bingo card moments before the game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Do not mark your card because you're going to have to use it for the other 9 games. So use M&Ms, use Skittles, use dimes. I don't care what you use, but you need to be able to clear the card and use it over again. And we have prizes ranging anywhere from $25 up to $50, between $25 and $50, all 10 rounds. We have a couple special rounds, and our special bingo caller tonight is Pete Johnson from Rock from the Heart. So he'll be there. And if you show up in any kind of costume, you will automatically be entered to win a prize. All you have to do is show up in something and you'll be entered to win. And then I'll just tell you what's coming up this week. We do have a Hangouts happening on Thursday. Our Hangouts is a casual style group of people meeting up at a virtual Panera or Starbucks, whatever you want to say. It's not a support group meeting, but you need to use the support group registration link in order to find out information about it, the link, the time, so forth and so on. But they are every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you're looking for a good time just to hang out with like-minded people, maybe watch somebody cook some dinner, do some arts and crafts, whatever it may be. We're crazy people. Just hang out with them. You'll have a great time. That's Thursday. Diane, you need to hang out in a hangout, 1 o'clock your time. Go. I think they'd get a kick out of you. Uh-huh.
I'm not crazy.
No, you're
Oh.
Pinocchio.
Doop, doop, doop,
I
doop.
didn't even get that reference, but that is okay. All right, so that is our weekend review. And everybody must be getting ready for bingo tonight. But I do appreciate Molly joining us. I do appreciate you, Diane, joining us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me and
Always a good
Mercedes.
time. Always a good time. Always a pleasure. All right, thanks, Joshua. We'll be looking for you at bingo tonight. Yeah, sure. We're done. We'll see you next week, same time, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we'll have all kinds of stuff to talk about. Our November schedule will be up, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of you. I'm going to have to give away more prizes. I don't know what's up with this community. Join, share, like, comment, blah, 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 blah. All right. We'll help other people find out about us so they can start receiving the same help that you get too, right? Not everybody's on Facebook, people. Believe it. Can you believe it? I know it's hard to believe, but they're not. And we just need them to find out about some of the posts that we're putting up. We do things a little differently around here, but we feel like we cover all bases with the accurate information we present, the contests that we offer, the support that we give, the hangouts that we do, the stories that we tell, the people that we interview. And we're all patients too, all of us that are doing it behind the scenes. So walking the walk and talking the talk and then walking the walk, whatever order that's supposed to come in. All right, I'm going to let you go, girl. Everybody, thank you again so much. Don't forget to click like, click subscribe, click the bell, and we will see you next Monday at 3 p.m. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.